Hey everybody, welcome back to the Right Line Garage. This is Chad, and I have a question for you. How many times have you been out on the trail, something go wrong, and you're wildly asking for other people in your group if they have a insert the following item or part? Today I'm going to go over with you a few key things that I think every off-roader should have for a safe and enjoyable trip out there on the trails. We're going to start with number 10. The first thing you better know and understand is how to get your vehicle in drive and how to operate all of its features. It's no secret that today's vehicles are more high-tech than ever before. And if you don't believe me, ask a brand new Jeep owner. You need to become super comfortable with how to operate your vehicle and understand all of its features, including where your four-wheel drive selector is and how to get in from 2 high to 4 low. I'll give you a wonderful example. Did you know that with newer JKs, when you put your vehicle in 4 low and then your transmission in drive, did you know that your vehicle will start in 2nd gear? That's right. If you want low range, 1st gear, you need to manually shift it down into 1st. If your vehicle is equipped with lockers, you better be sure you know how to use them. And here's a suggestion for everybody. You better know where all the rock grabbers are underneath your vehicle. There's one right there. Know where all your frame-mounted recovery points are. And if your vehicle's equipped with a winch, you better get some training on how to use it. Always keep your vehicle in good repair. Stay up on all of the fluid changes and service intervals, and don't put off those minor repairs because they could become costly repairs later on. So if you use somebody else for your repairs, find somebody that you know and trust that's qualified, and if you do your own repairs, make sure you find some good quality parts. Moving on to number 9. It's all well and good if you have a spare tire. Everybody should have a spare tire. But what happens if you have to repair a tire? If you've got to repair a tire, you better have some good quality tools. This is the kit that I take with me on every trip to repair tires. This one happens to be from ARB, but it includes everything you need to plug a tire. But Chad, I'm carrying a spare tire. Why do I possibly need to carry this stuff? Consider this. What if you're on a really long trip and you need to rely on all 5 of those tires? Plugging a tire is probably one of the more simplest tire repairs that you could possibly do.
I pulled one out. Oh, put it back in.
That's your home! Don't you like your home? Are you too good for your home?
Right?
Make sure whatever you use is properly equipped. Spare valve stems, valve core tool, spare valve cores, and plugs. This kit comes complete with everything you need to plug a tire. But there's some optional things that I've put in here. 1, you need those pair of pliers, razor blade, and a valve stem tool. Moving along on our list to number 8. Kind of goes along with number 9 perfectly. If you're going to repair a tire, you've got to be able to fill it back up with air. Air is not the only answer. Some people use CO2. I happen to carry a really good quality air compressor, and if you look online, there's probably 12.5 more compressors online. You're just going to have to shop around and find the one that's best for you. And lastly, with number 8, if you're going to have to air up those tires, you undoubtedly aired them down. You're going to need something quality to let the air out of those tires. And this one removes the valve core from the valve stem. I can't begin to tell you how many tire deflators there are on the market. And again, that's one of those things that you're going to have to do your homework, ask around a little bit, find out what your friends are using, and find something that works best for you. Preferably better than a stick in the valve core. Moving along to number 7, you've got to be prepared for a fire. That means you better carry a fire extinguisher. No, not a fire extinguisher that big. That's just the one I use in the garage. What I'm talking about is something that's small and portable that you can carry in your vehicle and is easily accessible. Now, if some of you happen to follow overlanding channels online, you may have seen the video from earlier this year of one of those popular overlanders whose JK caught fire on one of his trips. Now, he had a fire extinguisher and he was able to keep the fire from spreading, but his vehicle was a total loss. So get a darn fire extinguisher. Moving on to number 6. In the event you can't repair a tire, you may have to change it. So you better get yourself a jack. Now, My personal opinion, and everybody might have a different opinion on this jack is not intended to change a tire. This jack is awesome for recoveries and even some winching if you're equipped properly and you know how to use it. I suggest find yourself a really good bottle jack. I would not recommend relying on the factory jack, especially in an off-road situation. Moving on to number 5, recovery gear. It doesn't matter what recovery gear you have, you better darn well know how to use it safely. I suggest tree saver, pulley block, and a lift mate. And don't forget your screw pin bow shackles. Those items are almost completely useless if you don't have a winch or a high lift jack. Having all this equipment is all well and good, but if you don't know how to use it, you could put yourself in danger or others. So find some training and learn how to use this stuff. Here's a perfect example. The mouth of this hook, which way should it be facing in a recovery, up or down? Number 4, we're moving along to tools. How many times have you watched somebody do a repair and they can tell you exactly what size to grab out of their wrench bag? And they just know. That's just a sign of somebody who really knows their vehicle well and they know what tools to bring. Here's an example of some of the tools that I bring with me. I generally have an assortment of big wrenches, some sockets, very, very important to have sockets. Make sure you have an assortment of wrenches. I like to bring with me picks, wire tools, seal puller, side cutters, you name it. I already showed you the valve stem tool, testing equipment, a hammer, and know if there's some specific tools that you have to have for your vehicle. Jeep owners, how about a 36mm socket? JK owners, how about the 24mm socket? And every Jeep owner on the planet should have one of these, a 13mm 12-point socket. And Chad, I haven't heard you say a thing about spare parts. Well, that's because I haven't yet. Generally, spare parts, you could conceivably carry every spare part you could think of in your vehicle when you go out on a trail. Now, yeah, I agree, there are some things that you should take, like some hose repair kits, spare U-joints, that kind of stuff. But a lot of those spare parts, you're not going to know what to take until you've spent some time on the trail. Moving along to number 3, you need to be prepared with the essentials, and I'm talking about food, water, and shelter. You may also want to add first aid kit. You got to consider that you need to be prepared to spend 1 night, 2 nights, however many nights it takes out on the trail. If you get stranded and there's a problem, you got to have the essentials. Moving along to number 2. When you're heading out on a trip, do your homework and come up with an itinerary. And you better include your paper maps and a way to navigate. Now, in the past, I used a GPS unit. I switched at some point to a small tablet. Now, I generally use my phone, and in a lot of cases, I'll take the phone and the tablet as backup. Going along with number 2, guidebooks are also kind of helpful. They'll give you the written turn-by-turn instructions and descriptions as you're moving along out on the trail. If you're more of an online person and you like getting your stuff online, I would suggest trailsoffroad.com. Along the way, you may need to take some notes. Pen and paper, pencil paper, whatever. Also a good idea in case you need to make some notes. Now, before we go on to number 1, which I'm sure you're all dying to know what the number 1 thing is all of us should have on the trail, I'm going to show you just a few other things that I generally carry, just in case. My Jetboil. I love my Jetboil. I carry it everywhere. Not only is it good for making coffee, but I can just heat up some water if I want to. Another thing I generally take on the trail, kitty litter. You never know when you're going to have a spill on the trail. You're going to need to clean that up. You don't want to leave stuff behind. And if you're going to bring that stuff, everybody should have a roll of garbage bags. Set an example, do your part, take a roll of garbage bags. Also in my bag, fluorescent tape, zip ties, duct tape. Also bring with me an assortment of gloves. I have some lightweight gloves that I generally use around camp, setting up camp, that sort of thing. If I'm handling an axe or a shovel. I also have an assortment of leather work gloves I generally bring a few extra pair because what happens is you're on the trail, somebody's not gonna have a pair of gloves. Gloves are super important, especially in recovery work and winching. Now we're gonna move on to number 1, and I'm gonna let you guys know what I think is the number 1 thing that you should take with you on the trail. Some of you who have been around a while are gonna nod your heads and say, yeah, I get it. But everything I mentioned, everything that I've just shown you in the previous 9 items aren't worth a darn if you don't bring this one important thing. And it's attached to you every day. It's right here. All of the fancy equipment, spare parts, tools, self-recovery equipment, food, water, all that camping gear and stuff, none of that is gonna be worth a darn if you don't have your head and you're not using common sense on the trail. These are only suggestions. I'm only giving what I think is important. You'll have to decide what 10 things you find important. I want to thank all of you for watching, and if you're finding me for the first time, please consider a like or a comment or a share, even a subscription. I hope that you found this content entertaining and inspiring and worthwhile, and I hope that you'll stick around and see where the Right Line is going and the adventures we're going to have in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.